Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amazing and fabulous and excellent and supercalifragilistic episode of Stacks in the City. I'm your humbled host, Ashley. Welcome. And you all, as always, the episodes are always so much better when I'm not alone. I am here with the wonderful Marcus Goodwin here. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, Marcus, it's a pleasure. Thank you. You all, it's not, all my guests are VIPs. Let's not get it twisted. But I am super excited because Marcus is here, and not only is he an active member of both the real estate and commercial real estate development experiences here in DC, but he is also running for DC Council-at-Large. Y'all better get y'all votes out. So we're going to talk about that, of course, and we're going to talk about what the real estate market looks like. We're going to be talking about anything and everything, and we're going to be answering a lot of you guys' questions that you've had about investing in your first property, particularly in a city as expensive as DC. So, y'all, I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to head it over to Marcus. So, first of all, I want to say thank you for joining. And
thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. But I really want to hear a lot about your upbringing and how much DC has influenced you. I see that you've had some humble beginnings like myself, like many of us, but talk about how those experiences have led you to your college career, to your and to your professional career as well.
So thanks again for having me on. My name is Marcus Goodwin. I'm running for DC Council-at-Large in the November 3rd, 2020 general election. I'm a DC native. I'm the fifth of 8 children in my family. I grew up between the Brooklyn neighborhood Northeast, Columbia Heights Northwest, Congress Heights Southeast. My parents divorced when I was young. My mother grew up in Dakar, Senegal. She came to the United States in 1985.
Oh, wow.
My mother had 6 children, and my father had 2 other children with 2 other wives. So 8 of us total, and I'm right in the middle of them all. And we grew up primarily with my mother in Columbia Heights Northwest. My mother's a DCPS school teacher. She has been for a long time. That's the DC public school system. And she really raised us to focus on education in terms of creating a path to opportunities and pursuing our dreams. That's what enabled me to go from starting at a DC public school to attending a private all-boys school in DC, where the economic reality of students and their families were vastly different than the community I came from. And I was exposed to a lot of different things in terms of career paths, dreams, and aspirations that inspired me to have the opportunity to excel in athletics and pursue an education at the University of Pennsylvania. So that's where I really got involved in understanding and seeing that my dreams were to help people chart their own path to economic self-sufficiency, independence, and the ability to have the freedom to pursue their dreams. I learned from working in DC Mayor Fenty's office, in the office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and Mayor Nutter's office when I was in Philadelphia at school for 2 years, the path of public servants and how they created opportunities for people. And one of the most important ways I saw opportunity being created is in the creation of affordable housing. So for the balance of the last, it's been 9 years since I graduated college now. I've been working primarily in housing development, both market rate and affordable housing. So I've built up a lot of experience in financing these kinds of projects, finding opportunities, working with communities, working with governments, working with banks, and creating a new path and a new vision for communities. That's the kind of work that I've done, and that's the vision that I'm bringing to the DC Council to help improve our housing crisis that we're currently facing. That's a real short, this is my background story. I'm happy to dig into any detail you want.
Wow. I have so much, my head's like going everywhere because I feel like we have so much in common. I understand what it's like to transition from, a school that you may be more familiar with. A lot of the people have an economic background similar to yours, and then all of a sudden you're kind of being thrust into a world where people may not understand some of your economic realities. Can you describe specifically what your experiences were like at the private school you went to and why you decided to even go there?
Yeah. So from pre-K to 6th grade, which was 8 years, I went to a DC public school in the Adams-Morgan community that I never went to school with a white student. There were no white students in our school and certainly not in my class. And I never had a I had one white teacher who was like a substitute for half the year. So like primarily Black and Latino people, communities, where everyone I was surrounded by, my mother's family, my father's family. So going to a school in the 7th grade through senior year that was 80% white, all boys, highly affluent. At the time, tuition was like north of $30,000 a year, still the most expensive education in the District of Columbia. And a vast majority of students are not on student aid or financial aid. I was really different. But I really cherished and appreciated that it was a community that opened, embraced, and accepted everyone, regardless of their family's economic circumstance. And I never felt poor. And like the reality of it, if you look at family worth of my classmates versus me, there's a massive gap. So, to be in a community that open, embraced, and was equal to everyone, that, honored, respected people's differences, highlighted, emphasized them, and, really respected you as far as you respected yourself. If you focused on sports, if you focused on school, if you focused on the arts and you were excellent, you were praised, and, it was a real equal playing field. So
that sounds like it'd be really empowering too.
Yeah, and not everyone has the same experience. It's good for some people. Some people, really buy in. Some people don't love it. But for me, it was really great and empowering. And I served for a few years on the alumni board just to give back that same opportunity that was given to me. And that was part of the path and part of the inspiration for me to, again, attend the University of Pennsylvania because of one of my classmates' father who attended the school and introduced me to the school. And, fortunately, I was accepted when I ultimately applied. So it was a great experience all in all. Not perfect, but nothing is.
Right. Amen to that. Awesome. And, it's funny, another point you make, too, is about this affordable housing piece. And when you first said that, I'm like, wait, what? And you're saying how affordable housing really can be the economic piece that can really help elevate our community in theory. Could you talk a little bit more about what exactly is affordable housing? How can we get access to it, what it looks like, and how that will help people? What does that mean?
So when you look at a city like Washington, where the median income in our region is $121,000 for a family of four, which, just to take a comparable city, the city of Miami, the median family income for a family of four is $55,000.
Really?
So Washington is one of the highest median income communities in the country. Mm-hmm. So affordable housing, which is based on regional median income, is really hard for certain parts of Washington to provide in terms of gap financing, because Ward 8, which is east of the Anacostia River, predominantly African-American portion of the city, the median family income there is $35,000. So you're thinking, wait, the region is $121,000 and Ward 8 is $35,000?
That's wild.
How do you make affordable housing work?
Right.
And that's a great question, because HUD looks at the regional number but doesn't dig down into certain communities.
And HUD is the Housing for Urban Development? Yeah,
the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is currently led by Ben Carson, who Trump appointed. I think a lot of their financing for these affordable housing projects need to be looked at on a more granular level and considerate of communities, because it's cool to say we're providing financing for affordable housing, but to really dig down and think there have been institutional barriers to certain communities, and as a consequence, they're not being paid as much. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same educational qualifications. Even if they do have the same educational qualifications, they're not paid as much because of the race and gender gap in terms of employment and compensation. And they're doing nothing to address that. So those are issues that I want to step up and take the torch and champion for the people.
Yeah. That sounds great. So are you saying, is there affordable housing for these residents in DC? Or is that a gap? So are you saying that HUD is making houses for...
Locally, the District of Columbia does a great job. We have a program called the Housing Production Trust Fund that we commit $100 million at least a year to. And $100 million is a big number. Everyone likes big numbers. That sounds great.
Sure does.
But when you think about it, we have a city that's fleeting in its lack of affordable options in housing, where home value and rental prices are up 2 to 3% every year. And home value, it sounds good, but it's not, because your tax assessment is going up that same rate as well. So when you think about it, you have a city that's really not affordable. You have median incomes that are far below what financing can make sense for. The $100 million doesn't do the whole job. And we have a $15 billion budget in DC. That's the highest per capita budget in the country of any state. So I believe we need to double down on that commitment to affordable housing. $200 million a year, at least, because that's the kind of investment we need to make to accelerate getting more affordable and rent-controlled units on the market in DC.
And when we're able to do that, then we're able to economically empower those who need it the most. Is that correct?
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Okay. See, I'm all about more economic empowerment. Lord knows we need it.
Lord knows we need it.
So, switching gears slightly, a lot of my peoples out there are really interested in buying homes. They want to buy property. They want access to affordable home ownership. Maybe they're not as familiar with the process, but how is it possible for someone who isn't earning that median income to pursue home ownership in one of the most expensive cities in the country?
Well, one thing we need to work on is improving wages for the working class. We passed legislation in the district to pay our working class minimum wage of at least $15 an hour, and we're on a schedule to increase slowly towards that. I think we're at about $12.50 now per hour, and I think it's great that we've locally taken up steps that the federal government hasn't to improve and increase that minimum wage, because a working class keeps the city running, especially at a time like now. Mm-hmm. COVID-19 and our essential workers, grocery store workers, hospital workers, drivers, delivery people, these are all people that we still need to keep society going, to be fed, to get our medicine, to get our groceries, to get anything that we really need to have a functional, effective, safe life. And we need to do more. So while I think $15 is a great improvement, there's no reason that number should stay static, because the cost of living goes up in the district. So I think it's worth looking at ensuring that wages continue to rise. I know it's tough on employers who employ a lot of people, but ultimately, if your working class have money, they spend money. And if they spend money, the economy keeps circulating. And I think that's the biggest thing we need to focus on in terms of recovering economically from COVID-19 and its negative effects on the economy.
Mm-hmm. So by continuing to help raise that minimum wage will help circulate money into the economy.
Absolutely. I believe in bottom-up economics. Mm-hmm. We've been taught so long that tax breaks will give people more money to spend, but tax breaks just inordinately, just unequally support the wealthy and the ruling class. And what do they do with their money? They put it into a trust. They put it into savings. They put it into instruments that don't circulate through the economy and really only help the elite and ruling class and help improve their economic circumstances. So I really want to flatten that out and ensure we start to bridge the wealth gap by providing more benefits to our working class. Again, when a working class family gets money, they spend it on essentials. They spend it on their housing costs, food, clothes, taking care of their family, taking care of their children, travel. We need all that to happen. We don't need to continue to give tax breaks and preferences to only those who do well in society economically, because giving the working class an opportunity makes a fairer, healthier, more equitable economy.
Yeah, we need help. I'm not on that tax. We ain't on that tax break life yet. Not yet. We in the tax break life. I know. If only.
Well, the wealthy and ruling class do very, very well. It was crazy to see that when Mitt Romney was running against Barack Obama in 2012, it was revealed his effective tax rate was 15%.
Jeez.
And I remember that year, my tax rate was like
really?
30. Yeah, because of all the deductions, because effectively he's been able to take advantage of tax loopholes. Even Warren Buffett has admitted he's paying a much lower effective tax rate than his secretary. How is that fair? If you're earning $45,000 a year, you're working full time. That's above a minimum wage job, by the way, working full time 40 hours a week throughout the year, and paying 30% of your wages in taxes. That hurts a lot. And it hurts a lot more than someone who makes $1 million a year paying 20% of their wages in taxes, even though it's a lower notional number. So we need to find some equity and find a more progressive tax structure.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, in case you guys don't really understand 100% like tax rates and all that, I'll give y'all a quick blurb at the beginning of the show. Don't worry about what that stuff means, so don't fret, guys. I know that was a lot, but just know that y'all are paying more money to Uncle Sam than the rich folk are. That's what he's talking about, and that's not fair.
Exactly.
That's not fair. That's what we're talking about. So, what are there any home housing opportunities? So let's say that we are able to effectively raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. Let's say that we are able to
it's on the way in DC.
It's on the way. There we go, you guys. So let's say we are able to do that. And I suggest a lot of my people, if they're interested in purchasing a house, to pick up a second job, even if that job is minimum wage. Will there be any houses available that are viable for a first-time homeowner? And does DC offer any first-time home buyer programs to any type of assistance for people?
Yeah, there's the HPAP program, the Home Purchase Assistance Program, which assists people who earn up to $85,000 a year in income who are first-time home buyers with low to no down payment assistance on a home they're looking to purchase. So it's really an incredible program.
I'll have that in the show notes.
I encourage you to share the details with your listeners because it's innovative. It's only one of a few cities in the country that's done it. And I think our lawmakers deserve kudos for getting HPAP in. I know there have been a few bills to amend, revise, and provide more support, and I look forward to getting some of those passed as well.
Excellent. Perfect. So we have our homeownership programs. Are there any affordable homes that are in the market for people to buy? Like from what I've read, median prices are in like the $500,000 range, about $500,000. Is it possible to find something in the city for maybe in the 2s or lower 3s? I think that for a lot of people,
hard.
Got it.
Maybe you can find a studio or one bed. This is a really expensive city. Mm-hmm. It's really hard for the District of Columbia to provide for everyone, given the amount of demand there is to be in the city and the amount of available options there are immediately outside the city in great towns such as Bowie, Cheverly, Silver Spring, Bethesda, Alexandria, Arlington. People will quickly move out there and be able to fetch a property at a lower price. So, the district has its cachet and has been able to maintain really high home values. A lot of the economic development, gentrification, and beautification of communities has caused it to be a world-class city, but also a world-class expensive city.
And guys, we'll talk about that more too, because we're really pushing our home ownership series, guys. And again, it's okay if we have to leave DC. I promise, it's okay. There's a lot of options out there for you guys. I did purchase a studio here actually in the low 2s in DuPont about 4 years ago, but it's 300 square feet, y'all. It's an overpriced shoebox. That's what that means. So I do understand what you're saying, what you mean by that, y'all. When you want to live in a city that's popping, sometimes stuff be popping off. But it's okay, guys. Well, again, we'll talk more about that as our series goes on. So you all, first, I really want to thank you so much, Marcus, again, for coming. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to let our listeners know?
Well, I think it's important if you're in D.C. to participate in the democratic process. I know that we only have 3 electoral votes, but we don't have representation in the Senate. That's 2 senators. We don't have a House rep who has the ability to vote. I want us to ensure that Washingtonians focus on statehood, and the first step to do that is to participate in the democratic process. Vote in the national election, vote in the local election, and demand your respect by engaging in your elected officials. I'm keenly focused on improving the economic situation, bridging the wealth gap in the district, and I hope you'll join me on the journey November 3rd, 2020.
There we go, guys. Marcus Goodwin, thank you so much.
And before we go, wanted to say that the best way to get in touch is my website, www.goodwinfordc.com. That's GOODWINFORDC.com. And my social media is all the same, Goodwin for DC.
Perfect.
That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Excellent. Y'all, don't we just love a candidate who's connected? Y'all. Perfect. All of that will be in the show notes for you guys, so please check it out. Again, Marcus, thank you so much for being on the show. And y'all, we're going to continue to get this money.
Thank you, Ashley.